Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron and I'm here with Tom and Dom for another exciting episode of Jump Point. Happy Sunday, good morning. Hope everybody is having a wonderful one so far. It's going to get better though, because right now we are going to be talking all about infantry and battle armor. That is the topic for this 8th Jump Point episode. Lots to talk about here, lots of opinions. I imagine feelings will be hurt, possibly not as bad as when I talk about Protomechs, but we'll see. So we're gonna start out with a little bit of patron Q&A, and this is from one of our patrons, Star Colonel Brian Hall. So Brian, thank you for sending this over. And his question was this: I feel elementals in particular get a huge nerf in Alpha Strike and aren't able to be as effective as they could be under classic rules. What do you think about that? So let's go around the horn here. So Dom, you're a resident British guy and classic expert.
British classic, yes.
British classic and classic.
They're synonymous.
Yeah, I mean, in classic, the massive advantage that battle armor has is that 11 points of damage that it can take, right? So you've got it's been a while since I played elementals, but it's 10 points of armor and it's 1 point of structure for each elemental, which is like super overpowered for them, because that means that they'll basically be able to take a PPC or an AC-10 shot and you can't kill even one of the 5. In Alpha Strike, obviously, and I'll segue this over to Tom because you guys are much more orientated towards Alpha Strike, but that's just not the case. And I think that's where a lot of their kind of power is diminished, in that kind of damage factor that they can take. Still effective, I think, in Alpha Strike when it comes to dealing damage and doing what they do well on the battlefield. But I think in Classic, it's so annoying, right? Like, you get a PPC shot on a elemental point and you don't even kill one of them. I think if you boiled it down, I think it would be quite similar. I'm not sure about the ranges. Probably, I mean, I know, in Alpha Strike, obviously your range is are longer anyway, aren't they? So, and that would have a bearing because all the elemental weaponry is short range. It's like, standard elementals, it's S lasers and SRMs. So, but I think for me that damage factor is it's painful in Classic. Like, it just makes them so nightmarish to deal with. Especially if somebody brings like a star of elementals, you really know that you have to do some work to get rid of them.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, I actually think I think offensively they're more powerful in Alpha Strike because of the range abstraction, right? They're hitting at the same range bracket as like a 15 hex weapon with SRMs. There's no ammunition, right? So in Classic, you have a one shot on the SRM2, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe do they have one reload, or it's just one and done?
It's one reload, yeah.
Okay. So they get two, right. And Alpha Strike, obviously there's that. And I also think Flamers, which we'll talk about in a little bit, spoiler alert, are very powerful. So the Flamer elementals are devastating. I think they're overcosted, but offensively they're probably a little better than Classic. So I do think there is some work to be done to bring those back into balance, in my opinion. That said, Tom, any closing thoughts on that? Do you want to jump into the Ready Room Roundtable?
No, I agree with what you guys are saying.
All right, let's round table it. So a few questions here, and these all sort of tie into Brian's question. What do you think could be done to balance? Let's talk about elementals specifically to start in Alpha Strike.
Yeah, I mean, you think they're overcosted, right?
Correct.
But I could have sworn I did some math at one point around, like, their value even just as armor, not even considering the damage they can do.
You did.
And I thought that it was a pretty good, value. So I don't think they need a lot of work. I mean, there's nothing you can do about their weaponry without completely reworking the way that Alpha handles weapons. So I think it's about as good as it's going to be.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. Now let's talk about infantry in Classic versus Alpha Strike for a second. So infantry, to me, In Classic, my big gripe with infantry is the way they take damage and the complexity around the weapons, right? So, for example, like missile weapons do, I don't even remember. I don't have it memorized, right? Dom, you may, but it's
Right.
like, beam weapons only do
No.
one damage. It's like, missiles only
Yeah,
do what,
yeah.
1/3 of their damage, unless it's like this. And then even LBX, like scattershot autocannons, have a damage reduction to infantry,
Mhm.
which makes no sense to me. It's, like miniguns, flamers,
Yeah,
those things like they do extra
they'll do good
damage.
damage. Yeah.
So it's like this whole complicated process. I would love the
The whole
simplicity. Yeah, go ahead.
the you reminded me of my hatred of the beam weapon rule for infantry. It makes literally no sense to me that
Yeah.
a beam weapon's only going to do, kill one guy.
It's basically
Like I
like
have to imagine, yeah, it's like the temperature of the sun that's this big
Yeah.
shooting by you.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be vaporized or like 3rd-degree burns for everyone within a
sure,
radius of that thing. I assume,
right,
you know.
and
I think
it's
it
funny,
goes
like
beyond that as well. Like
And
it.
also, it's
Sorry,
just
Aaron.
like,
It
how can it not?
goes.
Yeah,
Well, it's not beam weaponry is a really good point, but also AC weaponry. Like, so I had this discussion with someone recently. I think it was like on social media
I think it was
about,
me.
and so it was like, was it you on? Okay, was it about like the AC-20 and the
it
amount
was one
of
of Aaron's sock
munitions
puppet
that would
accounts.
pack
Yeah,
in? Okay, yeah, and it was like if an AC-20 shell hit within like 20 meters of a human being, it would like shatter every bone in your body, right?
yeah,
Like
blow
it's
your
not the
eardrums.
shrapnel or the right, exactly. Like the problem is, just to really kind of dig into Aaron's point there, that they treat infantry like they are mechs and human beings aren't. If you
Like little
puncture us,
tiny
we tend
mechs.
to bleed out. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
odd in its ruling. And I think that, again, getting back on point with, what we're talking about here, it does need a restructure in terms of how infantry are utilized and what I think they're there for in BattleTech, which in that level of sophistication and technology, they should be there just as like irritation, right? So they're there to kind of pick
Yeah.
objectives up, do some like flanking, but instead you have this weird situation. I think this may segues to the next question in terms of like where, especially in Alpha Strike, you can use flamer infantry to like just cause absolute devastation in your opponent, which I don't see any like real world
Like my foot's
like
hot. I'm
analogy
so
to
I'm
that.
so upset.
Well,
Yeah,
this is the
yeah,
thing, right? So I imagine a mech flamer, and we'll talk about this. Is a flamer a must-take in Alpha Strike infantry? The short answer is yes, right? But if we're going to talk about the realistic application of a dude carrying a flamer and a mech carrying a 1-ton flamer, like
right,
think about a 1-ton
yeah,
flamer. It's like this. It's like a Mazda Miata-sized flamer, right? I mean, that's a big freaking flamethrower
yeah,
versus like a thing that weighs like, 30, 40 pounds, right? Like,
yeah,
even if you have
exactly. Like
30 of them, it's like not gonna, you know what I mean? It's not
But
gonna
it's
hurt.
also like, how tall is a mech, and how do you
yeah, it's
like?
odd as well in terms of obviously Alpha Strike's heat management really doesn't translate well from classic. I think that's
No,
the main issue there because obviously we like two platoons of flamer
You're
infantry and
shutting
Alpha
down
Strike.
mechs.
You can
Yeah.
shut down a mech quite easily, especially if they've been like shooting off and overheating their own mech. So, and that I think is where it gets very crunchy, and that's why if you go
Yeah.
to or look at the tournament scenes, most people will rock flamer infantry and, like you said, a Karnov or mechanized or something like that, just to get them in the fray, just cause chaos in the back lines. And I just again I can't see the validity around that. I think it needs to be looked at in terms because you couldn't do that in classic because that 30 points of heat you're never going to say like
right.
oh a flamer infantry caused 10 points of heat on a mech. It's just it wouldn't work
It's
that way, but that's
bananas, right?
effectively what we're saying in Alpha
Correct.
Strike. So
Correct. So one thought, I do think they are making strides to correct it, right? Very recently, there was an
yeah,
errata, and they recosted a bunch of infantry to remove the brawler discount because
That's
and
right.
and it's like negligible. It's a point or two, I think, in most cases. But that basically it was transportable infantry got their brawler discount removed. So that's a step in the right direction. But I have an interesting, fun sort of question to close this roundtable out with. So infantry currently, one single base of infantry is 30-ish dudes. It's like 21 to 28 or whatever the heck, right?
Yeah.
Or in the case of battle armor, it's 5 guys. Would it make sense to take a look at infantry differently? Like, should future iterations of BattleTech potentially have infantry squads, right? Instead of 30 dudes on a base, maybe it's only 5, and you get 5 bases of them, and they need to stay in some sort of relative coherency. I know people always are like, don't make this 40K, but like, consider it, right? And they would have some independent movement. Maybe they need to stay within 12 inches of each other, which is pretty far in Alpha Strike, or 24 inches, within medium range of each other, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could do stuff like you could set up ambushes and crossfires and do some really neat stuff.
Yeah.
They would die a lot faster. Maybe they only have 1 pip each, right? And you could hit it, you could wipe it off the map. It would make them feel like there would be that incremental loss that we sort of built in Destiny, in the BattleTech Destiny system, whereas they take damage, they get weaker. So that was one. What do you think about that, Tom? I want to start with you because I see you're smirking. You disgusting.
I hate it.
I hate it. I knew you were gonna hate it. I knew it.
I hate it. But I will say, if you combine it with like some kind of hidden rule where infantry was sort of hidden until you scan for them or something, that could be fun. But I hate it.
You don't like it? I think it's kind of cool where you have and then you could mix and match. You could have 5 guys.
Maybe I hate it because it's like not my idea. It could be that too.
Well, I mean, that happens frequently. Yeah. Dom, what do you think? Quick closing thoughts on that.
Contrary, I really like that idea. I actually run, so in BattleTech, a platoon, in general military parlance, it changes from force to force, but it's 7 soldiers per squad. And I actually run it like that. I brought some of these. I'm not gonna, you can't really see it because the focus isn't great. But I just run 7 guys on a little stand, and then 4 of those. That's 28. That's a platoon. So you can kind of work it with a little bit of synergy.
That's cool.
But I think it's something where it needs a proper look, like you said. It needs a rework at the center. And you don't necessarily have to have it so that they're all working in coherence or something like that. But I think in Alpha Strike, I don't like it that they name that it's a platoon, because the platoon is 28 guys, and that's quite big. Whereas I think squads, it's much more personable. And it's like you said, you can potentially do more with that. And it's a little bit more interesting and a bit more realistic to how infantry operate, which is within squads within a platoon, and then they just get stuff done. They're not like, weekend Rambos who running around the battlefield, shooting bows at mechs and stuff like that. They're soldiers who operate in units who, are trying to take down a mech, doing leg attacks or, IED attacks and stuff like that.
And you wouldn't throw 30 guys out into a street to go swarm a mech, right? You'd send 7 with high explosives and satchel charges or whatever.
Exactly. To put anyway. Booby traps down and stuff.
Correct. Yeah. I agree. All right, so let's move on. So a quick update on Adepticon. As you know, if you don't know, we are going. Dan and I will be there. Chris will be there as well, hopefully on Saturday. Tom, we're going to still try to abduct Tom from his vacation in Vermont and get him out there. But we are going to be playing an exciting game of classic BattleTech with the Catalyst team on Saturday. Currently, I believe it's scheduled at 1 o'clock on their live stream. All right, so definitely tune in to see that. Now, why don't we move on to our rapid fire segment? What do you think, guys? You ready for this? All right. Now, remember, this is rapid fire, so it's got to be quick answer.
Quick.
All right. So, Tom, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Dom. Ready? So, favorite infantry type: foot, jump, motorized, mechanized, or battle armor?
Battle armor.
What do you think?
Mechanized.
Mechanized. Okay. I'm a jump guy. I like jump infantry. What do you think
Yeah,
is?
that's because you used to play 40K.
Why is everything tied back to? Why
He
is
likes
everything
those
tied back to
raptors.
Space Marines? So, what is better in the novels? In the novels, which of these two things is better? Do you think elementals or conventional infantry?
Conventional infantry.
Ooh.
I-
Elementals, they're crazy in the novels. They like storm across the battlefield, wrecking everything.
Yeah,
They never die.
That's fair.
I don't think I've ever read
They
a
never
story where an
die, yeah.
elemental dies.
Yeah,
All right.
but like, I don't know. The
So
stories
what's-
I'm thinking, like, the infantry is always the hero in it, right? Like, I don't know. Okay, go on. Sorry.
What's better on
underdog.
what's better on the table? Elementals or conventional infantry?
Ooh. Elementals. Still, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I won't give a long answer here, but I think it depends on the system. I think in Classic it's Elementals, and I think in Alpha Strike it's conventional infantry.
I think it's conventional infantry everywhere. I think they're gross. All right. So, what is the best offensive strategy? What is your offensive strategy du jour? Is it missiles or direct fire?
Direct fire.
Ooh, I mean, I love my catapult, so it's got to be missiles for me.
All right. Here's the kicker.
What about you?
All right. Oh, for me, I'm direct fire guy all day. Yeah, in all the Mech Warrior games, I was a direct fire guy. Some guys loved missile boating. I was not a missile boater. I was a Gauss laser guy. Yeah. So here's our last one. Last rapid fire. There's a BattleTech movie. Name one famous actor to play the lead role.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
It's a tough one.
Okay, so for me, this is really obvious. And I can't, first name's a bit hard to pronounce for me, but is it Charlize Theron or Charlize Theron?
Oh yeah,
Is
Charlize Theron.
absolutely so her iteration that was like Mad Max Fury Road about whenever it was 10 years ago, that is Natasha Kerensky. And apart from she grows her hair out, she's got like a buzz cut in that film, but if she grew her hair out, she is like absolutely 101 Natasha Kerensky.
I love it.
Man, what about you? Who's your...
Oh, I have no idea.
So torn.
No
yeah,
idea.
I'm so torn.
Like the entire cast from It's Always Sunny.
I mean, that's, yeah. Like, I was thinking about that. I was thinking, like, I don't know, like Shia LaBeouf would be pretty funny.
Who's that dude that played, who was in the new Maverick movie? That was the
Miles Teller. I was thinking
Goose's
about him.
kid. That's my pick. That's my serious pick.
Okay, Michael Fassbender. I like a lot. I could see him doing something really cool.
Yeah. Is Benedict Cumberbatch the evil clan guy? He's always the bad guy.
Oh my God, dude! He's got.
He'd be good as a
clan. The head for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What about the guy who played Kylo Ren? Adam Driver.
Yeah, he's got a very good face for like a classic
Inner sphere filth.
Inner sphere, yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I don't.
So good. This was fun. All right, so now we get into your favorite segment, Tom, the render blender. There it is. Let's do it. So we've got a good one.
But
on
not
the theme
Mechs today, right?
It's not Mechs today. So I did email the legendary designer Anthony Scroggins, and I asked him if he had a render of the Inner Sphere battle armor that's coming out, but they don't have a render of that yet. So I did the next best thing here.
Did you draw it? Okay. Oh, okay.
I drew it by hand. So here it is. This is from his Scroggins Patreon. So these are the battlefield objectives. So this is a 6-piece vehicle pack. Okay, it's actually 8 pieces really, because these long tom trailers are 2 pieces.
Yeah.
You've got mobile HQs, MASH vehicles, and then the long tom mobile artillery.
Yeah. So what I see.
Take it away.
Okay. So I see 2 local news vans in the front, just ready to go on scene and report. And then in the back on the side, I see 2 of those like van lifers, like early
wow,
retirement, 20-something millennials living on the beach, running a blog or some kind of Instagram account. And they don't know why they're on the battlefield either. They thought that this was like some kind of
oh my
super like
god, it looks just like that. That's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah. It's great
I'll
though.
never be able to look
But
at
you-
that the same way now.
with the
Yeah.
little tent on the side.
It's
Yeah,
even got
yeah.
like a little sun flap here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a grill somewhere in there with hot dogs on
If
it.
not, we're gonna modify it and put it on the base. I mean, for sure.
And then there are fire trucks. So we have like the full Lego city pack going on. It's great.
So
Love it.
good. So good.
Yeah. Well, they bring them up. They look awesome. Yeah,
These
I'm a
do
big
look
fan of like
absolutely brilliant, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah. I like too that it's cool. Both the mobile artillery and the command centers, even though one is tracked and one is wheeled, they have the same like articulated multi-wheeled segments, And I like it's like very cohesive to me. I think what were the things in the back called? The little bugs, the little like ladybugs.
These are mash units, so they're like the medical,
Medical. Okay.
Yeah, the mash.
So
trucks.
it's Herbie the Love Bug. Okay. Yeah, they're cool too. They remind me of like Martian rovers. You can tell that they're
Yeah, a
not
little bit, yeah.
like offensive because the wheels are so tiny. You could really study that thing, and a lot of it makes sense. I bet if we had Scroggins to talk about it, like the two little like
the hatches
round,
or whatever.
yeah, like you can imagine they're both for different things, and there's vents, and it has a little bit of a weapon, and like it all makes sense. Like even that side tent thing pops out. It's not like it's not just a canopy, but like an actual, just like a camper van. Which is really
Right, where we
Is it like a
where
stabilizer or something, like during surgery to stabilize the vehicle or something?
Well,
No, I think
No,
it's
it's
like extra space.
inside, yeah,
okay,
and that's just how you support it. But dude, they're also awesome. And then I love the stabilizers on the artillery for the adjustments.
Yeah.
Super
Brilliant.
cool. Like all like,
Look
and
at the
even on the
ammo.
top there, yeah.
Check out the ammo bins.
I know. If they come out even like 8/10 of this level of detail,
Exactly, yeah.
that's gonna be so dope. Like I really like that.
I love the
And,
command bridge. Look at all the
Yeah.
glass, right? Like this is a gigantic, right? This thing takes up 2 bases, right? It's a gigantic vehicle. You could imagine there's like a whole crew of dudes, like typing and like banging in coordinates and doing the math for the next artillery trajectory. It's very neat.
Yeah, and then the mobile HQ units, again, everything like makes sense. It has the communications array, it has a little bit of firepower, and it has sensors. Like look at all the sensors it has. That one right there, and that one there, and then well, I imagine that one's a communications, but that's a sensor, I assume, right?
Yeah.
And
your
then
guess
even
is
on the
good as
front
mine.
there, it almost looks like it has like a periscope on top. Yeah, what do you think that is? Is that missiles or is that just some kind of like air intake?
It's obviously an upgraded radiator, upgraded oil cooler. So
Yeah.
when it's drifting,
Yeah. Do you think it's like HKS or Greddy maybe? Probably
most
Greddy.
definitely, yeah. Well, if it's Draconis Combine, it most certainly is HKS.
Yeah, I like it. They go for that top of the line stuff.
Top of the line.
Yeah, ARC or something.
I love all these, and everybody that watches our battle reports knows that I love having little vehicles all over the battlefield. Not to use in the battle, but just as like objectives, right? Like, or to add that realism, that flavor, that immersion, where you have like a bunch of artillery carriers parked in a row and inside like this military base that the mechs are fighting over. So I am super amped about
Yeah,
this.
I would give each of them a 10 out of 10. Maybe the surgical centers maybe a 9 out of 10 because of
Really?
the tiny little wheels. But I
love
also
the
like
tiny
it.
wheels.
I like it. I know that's what I mean. I like it because again, it tells you that it's not like an offensive.
Yeah.
It's like an offensive vehicle. I like it. It makes a lot of sense. The design
Out of
language.
all of them, actually, the mobile HQ is probably my 9 out of 10, and I would give the other two 10 out of 10.
What
interesting.
specifically don't you like that it looks like a boat going backwards?
So it is, but there's that, but also I feel like it lacks. There's something. I think maybe I want more detail on that radar dish.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think it looks a little. If you compare like I almost want to say it's a little flat compared to the other two. Like the other two have a ton of detail. So maybe it's just because it's next to the other two. But I still think it's phenomenal, and I'm very very excited about all three of these. I'll definitely pick
Dom,
up
what's your
multiples.
weakest? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with Aaron. I think the mobile HQs. I mean, they're all great. I mean, I absolutely love them. But I think the mash truck is just so amazing. I just love its shape.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed sipping a little coffee or tea or having breakfast with us on this fine Sunday morning. Adepticon right around the corner. Hopefully, maybe we will see you there. But that said, a couple of things. One, smash that subscribe button. Leave us a like. Leave us a comment. And if you want to help out the channel more, you can head on over to Patreon. We have a Patreon set up. You get some additional perks at different tiers, so it's very cool, and that's really what keeps the channel going. Also, our friend Derek over at Aries Games and Minis, that's their one-stop shop for everything BattleTech. So whether you need the books, dice, miniatures, whatever it may be, Fighting Piranha decals, hardware studios, terrain, all the good stuff is over there at Aries Games and Minis. But that said, I'm all done. So, guys, thank you so much. Stay tuned. And, of course, there's always great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. Have a good day.